ಎಲ್ಲಾದರೂ ಇರು ಎಂಥಾದರೂ ಇರು ಎಂದೆಂದಿಗೂ ನೀ ಕನ್ನಡವಾಗಿರು, ಕನ್ನಡವೇ ಸತ್ಯ, ಕನ್ನಡವೇ ನಿತ್ಯ. ಕನ್ನಡ ಗೋವಿನ ಓ ಮುದ್ದಿನ ಕರು, ಕನ್ನಡತನ ಒಂದಿದ್ದರೆ ನೀ ಅಮಗೆ ಕಲ್ಪತರು, ಕನ್ನಡವೇ ಸತ್ಯ, ಕನ್ನಡವೇ ನಿತ್ಯ. ನೀ ಮೆಟ್ಟುವ ನೆಲ ಅದೇ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ, ನೀನೇರುವ ಮಲೆ ಸಹ್ಯಾದ್ರಿ, ನೀ ಮುಟ್ಟುವ ಮರ ಶ್ರೀಗಂಧದ ಮರ, ನೀ ಕುಡಿಯುವ ನೀ ಕಾವೇರಿ.
Respected elder brothers and sisters, I feel great honor. We Tibetan refugee, small community, also they found opportunity to thank in Karnataka state, and of course we thank to India, we already done. So this shows we Tibetan, one of our tradition is we never forget others' kindness. So as a sort of preservation of our own cultural heritage, it is our duty to thank, to express appreciation to all those people who are very, very kind to us. Since 56 around, some problem, violence took place in Tibet because of Chinese authority. So they want to carry reform, which they practice in mainland China. That is naturally not suitable. So when they force to carry their own way of reform, then many Tibetans openly also they against them. Then suppression started. 1956, 57, 58, then 59, all over Tibet. This is stand firmly against the policy like that. It is quite contrast. 1954, I went to Peking. I spent about 5 months in Peking itself. During that period, I met Chamnu Mozedong several times. Chamnu Mozedong, very, very kind to me. Eventually, we developed a relation, Chamnu Mozedong and myself, like father and son. I also very much attracted Marxism, socialism. So while I was in Peking, I asked Chinese officials, I want to join Chinese Communist Party. So, at that time, I think, very good. When I returned 1955 from Peking, on the road I met the general of 18th Army Group. A very nice person, Tangkoha. I coming back from Peking, he coming from Lhasa and go to Peking. On the road we met. And I told him, last year when I went to China through this road, full of suspicion and lot of worry. Now I am coming back, same road, full confidence, with great hope. I mentioned him. But then somehow, there's 55, then 56, then things, you see, they turned different way. Then 59. So as our elected political leadership mentioned, when we first reach here, we only know the sky and kasa, earth, like that. But then, because my close relation with Pandit Nehru since 56, and my first meeting take place in Peking itself, 1954. So since then, know each other. Then 56, serious discussion with him, seek advice, very, very useful sort of advice, suggestions, wonderful. So, Pandit Nehru, this is suggested, you should have separate Tibetan school for preservation or preserve Tibetan issue alive. Education is key factor. Then we also, ask him, since our children should learn Tibetan, therefore we need separate Tibetan school. Pandit Nehru fully support, and immediately he set up one sort of committee headed by Union Education Minister, then Mr. Mali or something. And also Pandit Nehru, they fully support to create Tibetan colony, Tibetan settlement. Then, at that time, among different states, he wrote, asked some allocation of land. Then best sort of response come from Karnataka state. At that time we call Mysore state. One major factor was late Nijalingama. I know him during 56 Buddha Jayanti celebration. So he extraordinarily showing his deep sort of sense of concern about Tibet. He promised me he will support your cause. So then 59 things become out of control. Then we become refugee. Then for resettlement, his response, wonderful. So that's the part of sad thing. Then eventually, we found more and more friends, supporters. In India, in Europe, in America, So gradually, now we reach one level. The cultural heritage which we carry over 1,000 years originally come from Nalanda. As part of Indian culture, cultural heritage very much based on ahimsa. Ahimsa automatically, genuine ahimsa come with sincere motivation, that is karuna. Karuna, ahimsa go together. So that's India's tradition. Since 8th century, since 7th century, the Tibetan emperor, you see, copy one of ancient Indian was a script, the Devanagari and alphabet. Then 8th century Tibetan emperor invited, at that time, 8th century, topmost was a respected scholar, well-known scholar, Chandra Rakshita. He, great scholar, monk, bhikshu, and great logician. His writing still we study as a text. So he introduced Nalanda tradition. So, in a way, unfortunate, the Guru's land, India, must neglect this knowledge. That also become fortunate for us. I always is mentioning, we are reliable chela of Indian Guru. So now reliable chela now found opportunity to revival of this ancient Indian knowledge into modern India. So there's opportunity, the traditional chela of India now becoming Guru of India. So we really found this knowledge from India, really not only ancient one, but very, very relevant to today's world. Today's world passing through some kind of crisis of emotion. So only pray to God, not much effect. So only through training of mind we can reduce destructive emotion, increase constructive emotion, like that. So therefore, now Tibetan Buddhist culture and knowledge about ancient Indian philosophy, wisdom, and the psychology, and then logic. So more and more people and also you see among the scientists, now more and more people really showing interest. So therefore, my latest commitment is try to a revival of ancient Indian knowledge in modern India. We already started some steps, some program. We already. So we really feel proud. Ancient Indian knowledge, which we kept over 1,000 years, now should they make a contribution for original place of this knowledge, that's India. So modern India I think, much neglected about these ancient knowledge. Now this must revive. And India is the only nation on this planet, about 200 different nations. India is the only nation who can combine ancient Indian knowledge about mind, about psychology, and how to tackle destructive emotion, and combined with modern education, which is oriented about material value. No other country can do that, only this country. So, one of my latest commitment is try to revive it. So, in that respect, now these monks really good scholar who knows ancient Indian sort of Nalanda knowledge through rigorous study. Firstly, learned root text, learned by heart. Then each word explained according to Nalanda Master's commentary or Tibetan commentary. Then we use extensively logical approach. So when we approach logical approach, we never say yes, yes, yes. We always raise question, why? So the investigation. So today's world, I respect all major religious tradition. Wonderful. One of my commitment is promotion of religious harmony. So I respect all religion. However, the religion which can go side by side with modern science is the Nalanda tradition. Because we very much emphasis on reasoning, investigation, experiment. That's very similar that of scientific sort of way. So now, my point is, when we come here as a refugee, we really demoralize, hopeless. But then, through decades, now nearly 60 years, we develop self-confidence. Yes, the culture, the knowledge which we kept over 1,000 years, now really useful to humanity in general, particularly in this country. So all these possibilities come because of help of Indian government and lay down the policy by Pandit Nehru. Really, he really, in our, I think, history book, he really, I think, done great sort of help. And then among the different states, Karnataka state, Mysore state, I think one of the, because of the favorable. So we start the historical learning center, monastic institution in Devung, Serra, and the Kandan. And then recently in the Bengaluru, which is sort of the center. These truly become learning center. Very good, very good. So you provide us the determination or courage, hope, you see, not only preserve our ancient knowledge, but also can serve the wider community like that. So then when the drama survey performance from 3 regions of Tibet, Wisdom come amdo. I felt we Tibetan, as a people on the roof of the world, according to some Chinese archaeologists, now they found Tibetan human being on Tibetan plateau over now 35,000 years. Very ancient, very, very ancient. Then among the three civilizations, Egyptian civilization, Kazakhstan Valley, Indus Valley's civilization, and Chinese civilization. I think eventually Indus Valley's civilization, I think, really produce many, many great thinkers even before Buddha come. At least 3,000-4,000 years. So now that knowledge eventually, you see, we kept. So Tibetan people, ancient people, we have our own unique script. And most of important, Sanskrit text translated into Tibetan, and to some extent some Palis, altogether 300 volumes. That's our text. Our knowledge comes from these 300 texts, 300 volumes like that. So nowadays I make distinction. Religion is some subject, but the knowledge about psychology, about logic, and philosophy, including quantum physics, these we should consider academic subject, not religious subject. These days I also is mentioning a world passing through some kind of, the emotional crisis, as I mentioned earlier. So now, in our education, should include hygiene of physical, combine that, hygiene of emotion should include as an academic subject, as subject for health, not next life or heaven. So although these information come from Buddhist text, but itself now we should consider as an academic subject. And again, India's tradition, secular way. Respect all religion and also respect a non-believer as a human brother, sister. Wonderful. Out of 7 billion human beings, about 1 billion non-believer. So they don't care about religion. So we should take these things, although Buddhist literature, but itself should consider as an academic subject. So that we are doing. So all these things happen because of you also help us to create a place where we can study continuously. So I really appreciate. And as of Tibet, ancient nation, very rich cultural heritage. So Tibetan issue will never die. It remains. On practical level, we are not seeking independence. We very much committed, remain within the People's Republic of China. Provided we should have full right for preservation of Tibetan culture, Tibetan language. So that's a mutual benefit. We Tibetan, also human being, we also love money. Without money, you can't do much. So as far as money is concerned, remain within the People's Republic of China. Materially, we get sort of immense benefit. Then preservation thoroughly about our own culture, our own knowledge. Now today, China, about 4 years ago, one Peking University carried a survey how many Buddhists in China. Then their reports say over 300 millions. Since then, now many Chinese say now the Buddhist population in China around 400 millions. So many of these Chinese Buddhists really showing interest about Tibetan Buddhism, which is Nalanda tradition. Some professors, some scholars, they mentioning Tibetan Buddhist tradition, which come from Nalanda, that is very scientific religion, they say. So therefore, it is mutual benefit. Remain together. And they help us for money. We help them spiritual things, like that. So now China, today's China, compare 40, 50 years ago, much change. So now things are, as Buddhists say, impermanence, always changing. So like that. So therefore, when I met with a Tibetan, when I see our sort of cultural heritage, our knowledge, I feel great future of Tibet. So we should not sort of say, demoralized, right?
Feel demoralized.
Should not feel demoralized. As a human being, over 35,000 years, the cultural heritage over 1,000 years. So we have great potential. So self-confidence, especially those young people, very, very important. So that's all. Thank you. Thank you. I hope, as Chief Minister, you also should learn some Tibetan cultural heritage.